The jungle was hot and alive with strange sounds. Trees twisted in every direction, their leaves glowing faintly as if carrying hidden fire. A human named Jack walked carefully, his boots pressing into the damp ground. Behind him, an alien girl named Lyra followed. Her skin shimmered a pale violet in the filtered light, and her large golden eyes moved quickly, always watching. They had come searching for rare fruits that were said to heal wounds and give strength. Jack wiped the sweat from his forehead and glanced at Lyra. "You're sure it's safe here?" he asked, though his tone carried doubt. Lyra's ears twitched, long and thin like blades. She gave a short nod, but her lips pressed tight. "Safe, mostly. But do not touch buzzing flowers," she warned. They pushed deeper into the thick growth. Strange vines curled around their arms, and the smell of wet moss clung to their skin. Jack bent to cut a strange fruit glowing faintly red when he heard it. The low, sharp buzz that seemed to rise out of nowhere. Lyra froze instantly, her whole body tense. "Bee?" she whispered, but her voice was tight with fear. The sound grew louder. From the cluster of yellow blossoms ahead, a large insect emerged. It was nothing like the bees Jack knew from Earth. Its body was long and armored, with 6 spiked legs and wings that shimmered green like glass. Its stinger was long, dripping with a strange glowing fluid. "Don't move," Jack whispered. His hand reached slowly for the knife at his belt. But Lyra stepped back, and her heel pressed against a fallen branch. It snapped loudly. The alien bee darted toward her with a sudden sharp buzz. Before Jack could swing his knife, the stinger drove deep into her lower side, right near her hip. Lyra screamed and fell to her knees, her hands clutching herself as the insect buzzed away, vanishing into the trees. Jack rushed to her. "Lyra, where did it sting you?" His voice shook. She turned, her face pale, sweat already sliding down her temples. Her hand pressed hard against her lower body. My body, it burns." She gasped, eyes wide with panic. Jack pulled her hand away just enough to see. His heart jolted. Her flesh was swelling, rising unnaturally fast, pushing against her clothing. The shape of her hips and lower body grew tight, almost ready to burst. It was no normal sting. He ripped cloth from his pack and tried to bind it, but the swelling only spread further. "This isn't right," he muttered, his voice breaking. "It's not just venom." Lyra clutched his arm, her nails sharp against his skin. "That was not a normal bee," she whispered, trembling. "That was a royal drone. My people, they told stories. The sting marks chosen hosts. It plants something inside." Jack's stomach turned cold. "Something inside? What do you mean?" Her body shook, and her voice broke with pain. "The hive will come for me. They always come back for their host. No one survives this." He refused to believe it. He pressed harder on the swelling, trying to stop it from growing, but it pulsed under his hands like something alive. Heat poured from her body, and the air smelled sharp, like burning metal. Suddenly, Lyra arched her back and screamed again, the sound echoing through the jungle. Her hips swelled further, the pressure so strong, Jack thought her body would tear apart. The ground beneath them seemed to hum, as if the jungle itself responded. Buzzing filled the air again, louder this time, dozens of wings flapping from somewhere nearby. Jack looked up, his knife still in hand, his chest pounding. The swarm was waking. Lyra collapsed forward into his arms, her breath shallow. "They will not let me go," she whispered. "The hive will chase me until I break." Her eyes rolled back, glowing faintly with a strange yellow light that matched the venom dripping from the bee's stinger. Jack held her tightly, his mind racing. He could feel the warmth of her swelling body pressing against him, the strange energy pulsing stronger every second. He had seen wounds before, even deadly poison, but nothing like this. This was no sickness. This was transformation. He looked toward the trees where the buzzing was getting closer. He had no time to think. Either he carried her now and tried to escape, or they would both be swallowed alive by whatever hive was coming. "Hold on," he whispered fiercely, lifting her up. Her weight felt heavier than before, as though the swelling carried something beyond flesh. She trembled against him, half-conscious, lips moving soundlessly. The jungle around them seemed to darken as the swarm's shadows passed overhead. Jack gritted his teeth, his boots sinking into the mud as he carried her deeper into the trees. Behind them, the buzzing grew louder, echoing like a storm of wings. He did not know where he was running. He only knew one thing. The sting had marked her, and the hive wanted her back. If he failed, he would not only lose Lyra, he would face the swarm that followed. Jack stumbled through the thick jungle, Lyra's body heavy in his arms. The sound of wings filled the air like thunder rolling in the distance. He could not see them yet, but he felt them coming closer with every step. His chest burned as he pushed forward, branches cutting across his arms and face. Lyra's breath was shallow, her skin glowing faintly under the dim light that filtered through the trees. Her hips pulsed unnaturally, swelling and shrinking as if alive. Jack tried not to look, but he could not ignore it. The venom inside her was spreading fast, glowing veins now running across her lower body and climbing toward her spine. "Stay awake, Lyra," Jack said, his voice rough, though fear pulled at his throat. Her golden eyes opened weakly. She tried to speak, but her words broke. "Jack, leave me. The hive will not stop. You will die if you stay." "No chance," he said, tightening his grip on her. "I'm not leaving you to them." The buzzing grew louder, closer. It was no longer one or two insects. It was an army. The ground itself seemed to vibrate with their wings. Jack looked around desperately, searching for any place to hide. His eyes caught a shadowed crack between two massive stone pillars, half hidden by vines. Without thinking, he slipped inside, dragging Lyra with him. The cave was damp, the air heavy with the smell of moss and old stone. Jack pressed his back against the wall, holding Lyra close as he listened. Outside, the swarm passed overhead, thousands of wings cutting the air. The sound was sharp, painful to the ears. He held his breath, praying they would not notice. Lyra shivered violently. Her body glowed brighter now, the swelling pressing hard against his arm. Jack tore a strip of cloth from his shirt and tied it around her hip, trying to slow whatever was happening inside. The cloth burned his hands from the heat radiating out of her. "This isn't working," he muttered. "I need something stronger." Her voice was faint, almost a whisper. "You can't stop it. The sting marks me. The hive knows I carry their seed." Jack's jaw clenched. "Seed? What seed?" Her head rolled weakly toward him. "The royal bee does not kill. It plants. It makes the host into something new. Some die before the change, others become vessels." Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting the yellow light crawling across her body. "They want me alive, to carry their power." Jack stared at her, horror striking deep into his chest. She was not just poisoned. She was being transformed. Her body arched suddenly, a cry ripping from her throat. The swelling on her hips burst with a wave of heat, not tearing skin, but stretching it with glowing marks. Strange symbols formed, burned into her flesh like living fire. Jack held her down, whispering fiercely, "Stay with me. Don't let it take you." The marks spread up her spine, twisting in patterns that looked like runes. The glow lit up the cave walls, casting eerie shadows. Jack realized the symbols were not random. They looked like the carvings on the old stone pillars outside. He turned his head quickly. On the wall beside him, faint etchings glowed back in response to the marks on her body. His heart pounded. "This place, it's connected." Lyra gasped, her fingers digging into his arm. "Yes, the old stories said the hive was born here. This is their ground, their first nest." The buzzing outside grew louder again. The swarm had stopped moving. They were circling, searching. Jack's mind raced. If this cave was their nest, hiding here might be the worst choice he could have made. But then, the swarm did not enter. They stayed just outside, buzzing like a warning. It was as if they could not cross the stone threshold. Jack pressed Lyra gently against the wall. Her breathing was ragged, her body trembling. "Why aren't they coming in?" he asked. Her lips moved slowly. "The first nest was sacred. They cannot enter unless the queen calls them." Her eyes fluttered shut. "But I feel them inside me. They want me to be that queen." Jack's throat went dry. "No, you're not theirs." Her body jerked again, the glow pulsing brighter. She screamed, her voice shaking the cave. Jack covered her mouth quickly, afraid the swarm would hear. The glowing marks spread across her chest now, her whole body almost shining like fire. The swarm outside answered. The buzzing grew wild like a chorus. Jack held her tightly, his own heart hammering so loud it drowned everything else. He could not fight 1,000 bees. He could not stop whatever poison or seed was inside her. But he knew one thing. He had to keep her alive. He pressed his forehead against hers. "Listen to me. You're Lyra, not their queen, not their vessel. You stay with me. You fight it." Her eyes flickered open again, glowing gold and yellow. For a moment, she smiled faintly, as if hearing his words. Then another scream tore from her, and her back slammed against the cave wall. The symbols carved into the stone lit up, brighter and brighter, answering the light inside her. The cave itself began to tremble. Rocks fell from above, dust filled the air. Jack pulled her into his arms, shielding her from the falling stones. Outside, the swarm screamed louder than ever, wings thrashing like a storm. Lyra's body shone like a lantern in the dark, the marks now covering her fully. She looked at Jack with eyes that were no longer just hers. A second voice echoed with hers when she whispered, "They are calling me, and I cannot stop them." Jack's hands tightened around her shoulders. His voice was low but sharp, steady, despite the fear clawing at him. "Then I'll stop them for you." The cave shook harder, the sound of the swarm filling every space like thunder. Jack knew the fight was only beginning. The cave shook as if the whole jungle wanted to collapse on them. Dust poured from the cracks above, and the glowing marks on Lyra's body pulsed in rhythm with the strange symbols on the walls. Jack held her tight, his arms trembling, but he refused to let go. Her skin was burning hot, every breath of hers a cry of pain. The swarm outside roared with their endless buzzing, filling the air with fear. Jack pressed his back against the stone wall and slid lower, trying to shield Lyra. Her golden eyes flickered open for a moment. "Jack," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They are speaking, inside my head." Jack leaned close. "Don't listen. They're not your masters. Stay with me." Her body jerked violently, her spine arching as if invisible hands were pulling her apart. The glowing symbols on her hips spread wider, moving up her ribs and into her shoulders. Her veins looked like streams of light crawling beneath her skin. She clutched his shirt, her nails tearing the cloth. "They want me to open the hive," she cried, her voice mixed with another deeper tone that wasn't her own. "They want me to call them." Jack's stomach turned cold. He looked around desperately. The walls of the cave were covered in carvings, ancient shapes of bees, hives, and figures kneeling before them. The glow from Lyra's body lit up these carvings, making them alive, as though the stone itself was remembering. Jack dragged her closer to the markings. "Maybe this place has a secret. Maybe it can fight them," he muttered, though he wasn't sure. His hand pressed against the carvings. The stone was warm, humming softly like a heartbeat. Lyra's scream echoed again. She twisted, her body convulsing, the glowing marks blazing brighter. A circle of light formed on the floor beneath her, sharp patterns spreading outward like a hive's design. Jack pulled her back, but she was locked in the center, as though the ground itself had chosen her. "Jack," she gasped, her eyes glowing bright yellow now. I can feel them inside my blood. They are filling me." Her voice trembled, breaking into a sob. "I don't want this. Please, stop it." Jack's throat tightened. He pressed his hands on her shoulders, shaking her. "Then fight it, Lyra. You're stronger than them. You're not their queen. You're you." Her body shook, but the circle on the ground pulsed harder, answering her cries. The walls of the cave glowed even brighter, the buzzing outside growing to a violent storm. Jack realized something. Her transformation wasn't random. The hive had been waiting for someone like her. This was planned. The symbols on the wall formed a clear picture under the glow. A female figure stood tall, her body shining with the same marks as Lyra's, her arms raised while a swarm of bees bowed to her. Jack felt his skin crawl. "This place, it was built to crown a queen," he whispered. Lyra's eyes snapped open, and for a second, her gaze wasn't her own. Her pupils vanished, her eyes full of golden light. A cold voice spoke from her lips, layered with many tones. "She is chosen. She belongs to us. The hive is eternal." Jack's blood ran cold. He grabbed her face in his hands. "No, she belongs to herself. You can't take her." His voice echoed through the cave. For a moment, the glow in her eyes flickered. She blinked rapidly, tears rolling down her cheeks. Her real voice broke through, trembling. "Jack, help me." The circle on the floor flared. The buzzing outside turned wild, as if thousands of wings beat against the stone walls. Cracks appeared in the entrance of the cave. The swarm wanted in, and the walls would not hold much longer. Jack's mind raced. He could not fight the swarm with his knife. He could not cut the glowing marks out of her body. He had to use the cave, the carvings, the very power the hive had left behind. His eyes darted to the largest carving, one of a human-shaped figure pressing both hands into a glowing circle, the swarm held back behind it. He dragged Lyra toward the carving. She struggled weakly, her body burning in his arms. He set her down against the wall and pressed her hands onto the carved circle. At first, nothing happened. Then the stone lit up, humming louder than before. Lyra gasped, her eyes widening. I feel them pulling. Jack pressed his hand over hers. The stone burned, but he did not pull away. Then push back. Show them you're not their queen. Her body convulsed again. She screamed, the sound filling the cave, her voice mixed with the hive's chorus. The glow around her flickered wildly. The swarm outside shrieked as if in pain. Jack held her tight against the wall, forcing her hands into the carvings. Fight it, Lyra. You're not alone. Her scream grew louder, her body shaking violently. The marks on her skin flared one last time before dimming, shrinking back into her veins. The circle on the ground cracked, its light fading. The buzzing outside turned into chaos, thousands of wings retreating suddenly into the jungle. Silence fell heavy inside the cave. Lyra collapsed into Jack's arms, her skin pale and wet with sweat. The glowing marks were gone, only faint scars left behind. She breathed hard, her voice a whisper. They left. But not forever. They still want me. Jack looked at the dark entrance of the cave, his knife still in his hand. His chest rose and fell with exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp. Then let them come. Next time, we'll be ready. We'll be ready. The silence around them was thick, but Jack knew it was not peace. The hive had chosen her, and the fight was far from over. Jack's arms ached as he held Lyra against his chest. Her body was limp, her skin damp with sweat, but her shallow breathing told him she was still alive. The faint scars from the glowing marks remained across her hips and spine, dark against her pale violet skin. He lowered her gently onto the stone floor and sat beside her, listening. The jungle outside had gone quiet, too quiet. The swarm's buzzing was gone, but the silence pressed against his ears, heavy and unnatural. Lyra stirred weakly, her fingers twitching as if grasping something invisible. Her golden eyes opened slowly, unfocused. Jack leaned closer. You're safe. For now, he said softly, though his own heart still raced. She blinked, her lips dry. Safe? She whispered. Jack, don't you feel it? They are still here, inside me, watching. Jack clenched his fists. He remembered her scream, the marks blazing across her body, the cave answering as though it knew her. The swarm had retreated, but he knew she was right. The fight wasn't over. He could feel it in the air, a faint vibration, like distant thunder that never faded. Lyra tried to sit up, but her body trembled too much. Jack supported her, placing her against the wall. Don't push yourself, he said. We need to think. We need a plan. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't understand. The sting. It chose me. I am not only carrying their venom. I carry their signal, their call. Every drone, every soldier, every queen of the hive. They feel me now. I cannot hide from them. Jack's jaw tightened. Then we won't hide. We'll fight them. Her laugh was bitter, weak. Fight them? You saw their numbers. 1,000 wings, 10,000. They are endless. Humans fight with blades and fire. The hive fights with hunger, and hunger never stops. Jack leaned forward, his eyes hard. Then we starve them. She looked at him, startled. He didn't explain further. He scanned the carvings again, the glowing symbols that had faded after her scream. He traced them with his fingers. The stone was cold now, but he could still feel the memory of the warmth. These walls, he muttered, more to himself than to her. They reacted to you, to your body, to the sting. Maybe this place isn't just their nest. Maybe it's also their prison. Lyra closed her eyes, shivering. A prison only if the queen refuses to call. But if the queen accepts the hive, these walls will open. And then nothing will stop them. Jack froze. He stared at her. You mean you have a choice? Her voice shook. No. Yes, I don't know. The sting burns in my blood. Sometimes I hear whispers, orders, commands. Sometimes I feel strong, like I could control them. Other times I feel weak, like they could take me with one breath. Her head dropped. And if they take me, I will not be Lyra anymore. I will be them. Jack sat back, breathing hard. The idea tore at him. He had seen men die in war, seen poison eat through soldiers, seen machines tear apart human flesh. But this was worse. To lose her not to death, but to something that would hollow her out and fill her with another mind. He couldn't let that happen. Then we fight it together, he said finally. His voice was steady, unshaken. You're not alone. Whatever this is, it's not stronger than your will, and it's not stronger than mine. She stared at him, her lips trembling. For a moment, hope flickered in her eyes. But the ground interrupted them. A faint hum started again, crawling up through the stone. The swarm's buzzing was distant, but something new stirred below them, deeper in the cave. A low rumble, like many feet scratching against stone. Jack stood quickly, his knife ready. He looked into the darkness of the tunnel leading deeper underground. Shadows moved, crawling slowly, glowing faintly like embers. Lyra's eyes widened in terror. They sent the crawlers. Jack frowned. What are crawlers? Her voice shook. The hive's protectors. They do not fly. They do not sting. They crawl into the bones of the earth and crush anything that defies the queen. They come when the hive feels danger. The shadows grew clearer. Dozens of thick armored creatures crawled on 6 legs, their jaws clicking. Their eyes glowed yellow, the same color that had burned in Lyra's body. Jack moved in front of her. Then let them try. The crawlers hissed, their claws scraping stone. The sound cut through the cave like knives. Jack's knife felt small, almost laughable against the size of the beasts, but he did not back away. Lyra clutched his arm, fear in her voice. Jack, you can't fight them all. Maybe not, he said, eyes locked on the swarm approaching. But I can buy us time. The crawlers surged forward. Jack swung, slashing at the first one. His blade cut deep into its eye, and the creature screeched, falling back. But 2 more leapt forward, their jaws snapping inches from his face. He shoved them away with all his strength, barely dodging as their claws tore the stone where he had stood. Lyra screamed as one crawler broke past him, rushing toward her. Jack spun and threw his knife with all his force. The blade struck the crawler's neck, sticking deep. The creature writhed and collapsed at her feet. But there were more. Too many. The glowing marks on Lyra's hips suddenly flared again, though faint. Her hands shook as she pressed them against the stone. Jack, I can feel them. I can command them. He looked back at her, eyes wide. Then do it. Control them. Her face twisted in fear. If I try, they might control me instead. Jack shouted over the screeches. Then don't let them win. Show them you're stronger. Her body trembled violently, but she pressed harder against the stone. Her golden eyes glowed again. The crawlers froze mid-charge, their claws digging into the floor. Their glowing eyes flickered. Jack held his breath. For a moment, silence returned. Then, with a shriek that shook the cave, the crawlers turned, not toward Lyra or Jack, but toward the tunnel they had come from. They crawled back into the darkness, hissing, vanishing into the earth. Lyra fell to her knees, gasping, her glow fading. Jack caught her before she collapsed. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. I held them, but only for a moment. I can't keep this power. It will consume me. Jack tightened his grip, steady and unyielding. Then I'll be your anchor. You fight them from the inside. I'll fight them from the outside. Together, we won't break. Her head rested against his chest, weak but calmer. Yet Jack's eyes stayed on the dark tunnel. The hive had tested them. Next time, it wouldn't just be crawlers. Next time, it would be war. Jack's breathing was heavy, his chest rising and falling as he held Lyra close. The silence after the crawlers retreated felt unnatural, like the air itself was waiting. The cave walls still glowed faintly where her hands had pressed, but now the light faded, leaving behind only old, cold stone. Jack scanned the darkness, his knife retrieved from the crawler's corpse, sticky with yellow ichor. His grip was tight. He didn't trust the silence. Lyra's head rested weakly against his chest. Her voice was soft, almost broken. I stopped them, but I felt their voices inside me. They wanted me to bend, to kneel, to obey. She shivered and gripped his shirt. It felt so easy to give in, too easy. Jack tilted her face up, his eyes hard. But you didn't. That's what matters. Her golden eyes shimmered with fear. For now, but every time I resist, the hive grows louder. If I lose myself, Jack, if I become their queen, I won't recognize you anymore. I'll see you as prey. His jaw tightened. Then I'll make sure you never forget me. Before she could answer, the ground shook again, deeper this time, like a drumbeat echoing through the cave floor. Jack pulled her back to her feet, ignoring her weakness. They moved together through the twisting passage, away from the main chamber. The tunnel was narrow, lined with strange roots that pulsed faintly with golden light. Jack touched one with the edge of his knife and felt heat pulse up the blade. He pulled back quickly. Lyra's eyes widened. These are hive roots. They spread under the land like veins. Every sting, every drone, every queen is connected through them. This whole jungle is alive with their reach. Jack cursed under his breath. Then we're already walking in their belly. Lyra nodded weakly. Yes, and if we keep walking, we may reach their heart. They pushed forward. The air grew warmer, heavy with the smell of honey and iron. Jack's boots squelched in sticky mud that shimmered faintly gold. He tightened his grip on Lyra's hand, feeling her tremble, but she didn't stop. Her breathing grew ragged, and Jack noticed her scars glowing faintly again. Lyra, he whispered, what's happening? Her eyes watered. The closer we get to their heart, the stronger their call. I can feel it pulling me. It's like claws inside my skull. She shook her head violently. I can't hold it much longer. Jack stopped and turned her to face him. Listen to me. You're not alone in this. If they pull, I'll pull back harder. I don't care if it tears me apart. I'm not letting them have you. Her lip trembled. She wanted to argue, but his voice steadied her. She squeezed his hand, nodding faintly. They moved again until the tunnel widened suddenly into a massive chamber. Jack froze, his breath caught in his throat. The walls glowed faint gold, dripping with thick nectar-like liquid. In the center lay a colossal hive structure, shaped like a throne but made from hardened resin, honeycombs twisting upward like twisted ribs. The air buzzed faintly, though no bees were present. Lyra staggered forward, her eyes wide, her body trembling. This is the royal chamber, where every queen is born. Jack grabbed her arm. Stay back. But her scars burned brightly now, glowing yellow across her hips and spine. She screamed, collapsing to her knees, clutching her head. They're inside me! They're pulling me to the throne! Jack dropped beside her, shaking her shoulders. Fight it! Look at me, Lyra! Look at me! Her eyes flicked to his, golden fire swirling inside them. I can't! The throne pulsed as if alive. A wave of heat rolled through the chamber, making the roots throb harder. Jack realized the hive wasn't waiting. It was calling her. It wanted her seated on that throne. It wanted its queen. No! Jack roared, pulling her back, but her body slid toward the throne as though invisible hands dragged her across the floor. He wrapped his arms around her waist, planting his boots deep into the sticky ground, pulling with all his strength. His muscles burned, but she kept sliding. Her glowing eyes locked on the throne, tears streaming down her face. Jack, if I sit there, I won't come back. Then don't, he shouted. You're stronger than this. You hear me? You're Lyra, not their puppet. Her hands gripped his arms desperately. Then bind me, hold me. Don't let me move. Jack's eyes burned with resolve. He tore strips from his pack and tied her wrists together, binding them to his arm. She couldn't move without dragging him too. He pulled her into his lap, holding her tight as the hive pulsed louder. The throne glowed brighter, golden veins crawling up the walls. The buzzing outside returned, this time closer, like the entire swarm was waiting just beyond the chamber. Jack whispered in her ear, steady and firm. They want a queen, but they can't have you. Not while I'm here. Her body shook violently, her breath coming in short, panicked bursts. The glow from her scars grew unbearable, lighting up the whole chamber. Jack held her tighter, refusing to let go, even as the heat burned his skin. Suddenly, the hive screamed, not with sound, but with vibration. The walls shuddered, roots thrashing like living snakes. The swarm outside roared in response. Lyra cried out, her voice breaking. Jack, I can't fight it much longer. Jack buried his face against her hair, his grip like iron. Then let me fight for you. The throne's glow faltered for a moment, as if confused. Lyra gasped, her tears falling hot on his skin. You're blocking them. How? He clenched his teeth. Because they don't know one thing. I'd rather die here than let them take you. Her glow flickered. The pull weakened for a heartbeat. Lyra's eyes cleared, just enough for her to whisper. Then we fight as one. The throne pulsed again, furious. But Lyra screamed, not in pain, but in defiance. Her glow turned violent, blasting out from her body. The roots recoiled, the throne cracked, and the swarm outside shrieked as though struck. Jack shielded her as the chamber shook with fury. For the first time, the hive didn't sound hungry. It sounded afraid. The chamber still trembled, dust falling from the cracked walls as Lyra collapsed in Jack's arms. Her glow dimmed, but did not disappear completely. The faint light of the hive still pulsed under her skin, as if reminding them both that the fight was not over. Jack tightened his hold on her, his eyes fixed on the throne. Its resin shell was broken in places, golden sap oozing like blood. The throne had been hurt, but not destroyed. Lyra's voice was weak. It is only the beginning. The hive, it will never forgive this. Jack's jaw tightened. His arms ached from holding her, but he refused to let her go. Then let them come, he muttered. We're not running. A distant roar of wings rose again. This time it was heavier, deeper, like a storm pulling itself together. Jack's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. He looked at Lara, her body trembling in his arms, her golden eyes filled with both fear and fire. We can't stay here, she whispered. The hive will send something worse. Drones, soldiers, even a queen fragment. They won't stop. Jack scanned the chamber quickly. The walls glowed with lines of resin, twisting like veins. He spotted another passage leading deeper underground. His instincts told him it was dangerous, but staying in the throne chamber was worse. He lifted Lyra gently and carried her toward the dark tunnel. The air grew hotter as they descended. The glow of the roots lit their path, throbbing like a heartbeat. Lyra stirred in his arms. Jack, do you hear it? He frowned. What? She pressed her head against his chest, her voice trembling. The hive. It whispers, not with words, with promises. They tell me if I give in, the pain will end, that I will never be weak again, that I will be loved, worshipped, obeyed. Jack's throat tightened. And what do you say? Her lips quivered. That I would rather be me, even if it kills me. He stopped walking and looked down at her. Her golden eyes shimmered in the dim light. He cupped her face, rough and gentle at once. Then that's what we'll do. Stay you, no matter what it takes. She closed her eyes, pressing her forehead against his. For a moment, there was silence between them, broken only by the pulse of the roots around them. But then, the ground ahead cracked open. The roots split apart, and from the darkness crawled new creatures, larger than the crawlers from before. These stood taller than Jack, with armored shells and wings folded tight against their backs. Their faces were sharp, with mandibles dripping golden venom. Lyra gasped. The hive guards. They are chosen from birth to protect the royal chamber. They are not mindless like drones. They think. They kill with purpose. Jack set her down gently against the wall. He pulled his knife, though it looked pitiful against such monsters. Then we make them regret ever leaving their hive. The first guard screeched, lunging forward. Jack ducked low, slashing its leg. The blade cut shallow, but enough to make it stumble. He drove the knife into its glowing eye, twisting until the creature shrieked and fell. Golden ichor splattered across his arms, burning his skin like acid. He gritted his teeth through the pain. Two more advanced, their claws scraping the walls. Jack stepped in front of Lyra, his stance unshaken. He slashed at one, but the second struck him across the shoulder. He stumbled, blood soaking his shirt. Lyra cried out, trying to rise, but her body was too weak. The scars on her hips glowed violently as though answering her desperation. The guards paused, their glowing eyes locking on her. They feel me, she gasped. They know I am marked. Jack staggered back to his feet, blood dripping from his wound. Then show them you're not theirs. Show them you're stronger. Her body shook. She pressed her hands against the ground, her glow spreading into the roots. The guards hissed, their wings buzzing in pain as her power flowed through the tunnel. For a moment, they froze, caught in her grip. Jack didn't waste it. He lunged forward, driving his knife into one guard's throat, then slashed across the other's wings, forcing it down. Both collapsed, screeching until silence filled the tunnel again. Jack fell to his knees, panting hard, his arm burning from the acid wounds. He wiped his blade clean and looked back at Lyra. She was trembling violently, her eyes full of tears. I can't keep using it, she whispered. Every time I command them, I feel myself slipping. Their voices get louder. Their hunger becomes mine. Jack crawled to her side and grabbed her shoulders firmly. Then we'll use it carefully, only when we have to, with Urs. And when it gets too much, I'll remind you who you are. She looked at him, her lip trembling. And if I forget? He didn't hesitate. Then I'll fight you until you remember. A faint laugh escaped her, broken but real. She leaned against him, her head resting on his chest. For a brief moment, the world felt still again. But then the air shifted. A low rumble echoed through the tunnel, followed by the heavy sound of massive wings. Lyra stiffened. That's not guards. That's a fragment. Jack frowned. A fragment of what? Her voice dropped, filled with dread. Of the queen herself. When a hive grows too large, the queen splits her essence into fragments. They walk as living avatars of her will. If one is here, it means the queen already knows me, already wants me. The rumble grew louder, shaking dust from the ceiling. Jack stood, pulling Lyra to her feet, his knife gripped tight, though he knew it was useless against something like that. His eyes narrowed. Then we face her together. The tunnel ahead glowed brighter as a massive shape approached, wings scraping against the walls. The swarm outside screamed in unison, answering the Queen's call. Jack tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. His voice was steady, unbroken. No matter what comes, you're not alone. Remember that. Lyra's golden eyes glowed brighter, her body trembling, but her hand squeezed his back. Together, she whispered. The shadows deepened. The Queen's fragment entered, filling the tunnel with her presence. The final test had come. The tunnel shook as the Queen's fragment appeared, towering over Jack and Lyra. Her body was massive, twice the size of a man, with wings dragging against the stone and a stinger long enough to pierce through steel. Her eyes glowed a deep, burning gold, and when she opened her jaws, the sound was not a hiss, but a voice, sharp and layered with many tones. You resist, the Queen's fragment said, her words echoing in both sound and mind. But you are already mine. The sting marks you. The hive owns you. Lyra staggered, clutching Jack's arm. Her scars burned like fire, glowing brighter as the Queen's words pressed into her skull. She screamed, dropping to her knees. Jack, she's inside me. She's trying to take me. Jack stood over her, his knife shaking in his grip. His shoulder still burned from the acid wound, but his voice was strong. You're not hers. Do you hear me, Lyra? You're not hers. The Queen's fragment stepped closer, her claws scraping the ground. Weak human, she hissed. You think your words matter? She is chosen. She is queen. You cannot fight what is already decided. Jack's chest rose and fell with rage. Then I'll break what's decided. The fragment lunged, her stinger striking down like lightning. Jack grabbed Lyra and rolled aside just as the stinger slammed into the stone, cracking it apart. He pushed Lyra behind him and charged forward, his knife aimed at the Queen's eye. But her claw swept sideways, striking him across the chest and throwing him against the wall. Pain exploded in his ribs and blood filled his mouth. Jack! Lyra cried, her voice breaking. She crawled to him, her hands shaking as she tried to pull him up. The Queen's fragment loomed over them, her mandibles opening wide. Watch, human, as she surrenders. Lyra clutched Jack's face, tears streaming. I can feel her, Jack. She's pulling me into her. If I give in, I'll be gone forever. Jack coughed blood, gripping her wrist. His eyes burned with fire even as his body shook. Then fight, Lyra. Fight with everything. Not for me, not for them. Fight for yourself. Her eyes widened, glowing brighter. The hive's whispers screamed in her mind, demanding she kneel, demanding she accept the throne. She closed her eyes, and for a moment, Jack thought she was lost. But then she screamed, the sound raw, tearing through the tunnel. Her scars blazed like suns, light bursting from her body. The Queen's fragment shrieked as the light struck her, staggering backward. The roots in the walls recoiled violently, the entire tunnel shaking as though the hive itself was in pain. Lyra rose slowly, her body trembling but her eyes burning gold. She was not just glowing, she was blazing. She looked at the Queen's fragment, her voice steady though filled with fury. I am not your queen. I am not your vessel. I am me. The Queen's fragment roared, lunging again. But this time the swarm's pull did not bend Lyra. She lifted her hands, and the light from her scars surged outward, striking the fragment full in the chest. The beast shrieked as her wings burned and her shell cracked. Jack forced himself to his feet, pain stabbing his ribs, and picked up his knife. He stumbled forward, finding strength in her defiance. Lyra, hold her! She gritted her teeth, both hands glowing as she forced the Queen's fragment still. The monster struggled, her claws thrashing, but Lyra's power pinned her to the tunnel wall. Jack climbed onto the creature's body, each step a battle against his wounds. He drove his knife deep into her glowing eye. The Queen's fragment let out a final, piercing shriek. Her body convulsed, wings thrashing, and then collapsed with a thunderous crash. The light in her eyes faded, leaving only a broken shell steaming with golden ichor. The tunnel went silent. The swarm outside howled once, then fell into silence as well, as though stunned by the death of their queen's avatar. Jack stumbled down from the corpse, blood dripping from his chest, and fell to his knees. Lyra rushed to him, her glow fading but her hands still warm. She pressed her palms against his wounds, tears falling on his face. Don't you dare die now. Not after this. He gave a weak smile, his hand lifting to touch her cheek. Not planning to. You did it, Lyra. You broke her. Her tears glistened as she shook her head. No, this was only a fragment. The queen still lives. She will send more. She will never stop. Jack coughed, then forced himself upright, leaning on her. Then we'll never stop either. If she wants a fight, she'll have one, but she'll never take you. Not while I breathe. Lyra stared at him, her golden eyes softening. For the first time since the sting, the whispers in her mind grew quiet. She leaned her forehead against his, her voice breaking with both fear and hope. Together then, always. He nodded, his arm wrapped tightly around her. The dead fragment's body still smoked, the tunnels still cracked from the fight, but Jack and Lyra stood side by side, their shadows long against the glowing roots. Outside, the swarm buzzed faintly, restless, waiting for orders that would never come. The hive had been wounded, its will challenged, but deep in the jungle, far beyond their sight, the true queen stirred. Her wings stretched in rage, her voice echoing across the hive's endless network. The war for Lyra had only just begun.